Welcome back to Visions. Here's a sobering fact. Houston is one of the nation's worst offenders for human trafficking. This crime against humanity involves mostly women and can come in a variety of forms, from sexual enslavement to agricultural to massage parlors. Many of the victims hail from places like Asia, the Middle East, and Africa. Joining us to talk about this serious issue of human trafficking is Ann Chandler, an attorney and Houston director of the Talharay Justice Center, and Vin Ho of Boat People SOS. Thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And Ms. Chandler, let me start with you. Tell us about, for those who are not familiar, about the overall scope of how serious human trafficking is here in the Houston area.
You know, unfortunately, Houston is one of the nation's major hub of human trafficking, and it comes in so many forms. But what we've realized from both the number of prosecutions of individuals who have been identified as taking advantage of very vulnerable individuals, as well as women and children, boys and men reaching out for assistance, that we unfortunately are on the map in a way that is not dignified and that we're working to change.
And I know, Vin, that Boat People SOS has done so much in the refugee community and in the Vietnamese American community as a whole. What have you guys done as far as human trafficking to try to reduce some of the incidents?
Our work has started off on a global level, working on the American Samoa case, the largest human trafficking case recorded in U.S. history, all the way to the work that we do now. We've gone back to Southeast Asia to help stem the tide of individuals that are trafficked, because it is a very large source of trafficking victims that have come over to not only to the United States but to other areas of the world. So we work on both a local level here in Houston. We have offices here. We have offices throughout the United States, as well as offices in Southeast Asia to help combat human trafficking, because it's such a large mass scale, and you know, we need as many resources as you can.
And really, Mayor Nice Parker recently formed a human trafficking committee here in Houston, and what they were talking about, and you can speak to this, is that at a local level, if I was just the average Houstonian, there might be victims of human trafficking around me all the time, and I don't see it. So tell us how we as Houstonians can maybe help in a small way identify some of the victims if they're in the community around us.
That's right. Well, I think the first step is this, is becoming aware and being involved in the way that fits right and interests individuals with their skills. Houston Rescue and Restore has if you go to their website, they have a variety of activities and events and a way to really learn about what are those identification signs in the community so that we can actually be part of the solution.
Like for example, what are some of the signs?
It depends on the context. It's not like we need to walk around thinking, look at that individual, I'm suspicious. But if, for example, if you're eating in a restaurant or having interactions with individuals who seem very scared, you're trying to communicate with them, somebody isn't allowing you to have direct communication with that person, what we see is many of our victims don't have even the right to possess their own documents. They're scared of law enforcement. They're scared of telling the truth.
And then the language barrier and the cultural barrier is such an issue as well. It stops victims from going forward and maybe speaking out when they're in trouble.
Absolutely, and having somebody who is cognizant of that can be able to speak that language. If you're approaching somebody at, let's say, a massage parlor or at a dry cleaners, and this person, you can speak the language to them, but they're always being watched. They're uncomfortable even speaking to you one-on-one and answering general questions about their day-to-day events versus just going through the motion of being in business.
They certainly do have a problem. And just real quickly, tell us about your gala on September 29th, kind of bringing attention to this matter.
That's right. And so in Houston on September 29th at the Houstonian, we're having our first inaugural gala to support our work to protect women and girls who are fleeing gender-based violence in situations such as human trafficking. In
fact, we have the information on the screen for our viewers over there interested in participating. Certainly,
thank you.
Best of luck for that gala. Hope it's a big success. And thank you, Vin, for joining us, and of course for the work that Boat People SOS do on a regular basis. So thank you both for joining us.
Thank you.
Well, it's part of the Houston School District's efforts to prepare students for the global economy. We'll tell you about HISD's new Mandarin Chinese school, and later the story of Filipino soldiers who served in the U.S. Army during World War II. That makes it onto the big screen. Visions will be right back.